Let me introduce myself. I'm not sure whether a lot of the people who are here know me from my earlier stints in Hyderabad. Many of you are very young faces, I see. Happy to be here. As you know, we have this uh, the Data Analytics Summit, Big Data and Analytics Summit here. This is the second edition. This is also a time when the budget is about to be presented by the government shortly, on the 10th of July. And from the industry, we have also made certain suggestions and recommendations. So I thought I would take a little time to share with you some of the recommendations that we have made to the government, and also a little bit about this event and the area of analytics in general. Thank you all for having come here. So let me tell you about the recommendations that we have made to the government first. Our recommendations to the government are not so much in the form of a wish list, but actually in the form of how this sector and how this industry can actually help in the growth and development agenda for the country. How this technology, which today is driving growth and development and businesses across the world, and in which, by a fortunate coincidence, India happens to be a very major player. And in this is now a sector in which India has over 50% share in the global market in terms of global sourcing. 52% is the Indian share in the global IT sourcing market. And within the country, of course, the industry over the last couple of decades has come from practically zero to a stage when it accounts for 8% of the GDP, more than 8%. In the next 4 or 5 years, we expect this to reach 10%, and where it accounts for more than 25% of the exports and employs 3 million people directly, more than 3 million, 3.2 million in fact, and more than 10 million indirectly. So it's a major creator of jobs in the country, and it's in fact also indirectly a major driver of urbanization in the country. So the short point is that this is a sector which is causing huge transformational changes across the world, and it happens to be the sector in which India is particularly strong in, and we believe that this industry can be leveraged and used much more strategically to help drive the growth agenda in the country. The industry has welcomed the new government's focus on growth and development, with a particular emphasis on technology as being an important lever and tool in that growth and development agenda. So we have outlined what we think needs to be done in order for that combination and that link to happen, and how the industry can actually be of great help in driving this growth and development agenda. So, going down that same route, our first point is that quite often this industry is looked at as a single monolithic industry, and therefore sometimes that view forms the basis of deciding whether the industry needs support or doesn't need support, or what kind of support. But today we have reached a point where the industry consists of two broad segments which are quite distinct from each other, and the needs and potential of these two segments are quite distinct as well. The first segment is the global IT service companies, IT BPM industry. And in this industry, the largest 200 or so companies, in fact a little less than 200, account for, if you look at the statistics, 80% of the industry turnover of $118 billion. So out of $118 billion, less than 200 companies account for 80%. Of course, in that $118 billion, I should clarify that the exports is 86 billion and the domestic market is 32 billion. And that domestic market also includes about $10 billion on the hardware side, $10 billion on the software, packaged software, and about 11 to $12 billion on the IT services. So 80% of the turnover comes from less than 200 companies. And for these companies, what is critical is a predictable, stable, and transparent taxation and regulatory policy, so that investments can be made, business can be conducted, and services delivered across the globe with certainty about what would be the kind of tax treatment, for example, on such business. Changes in the taxation policy, whether it is within the SEZ scheme, like the introduction of MAT, or unpredictability in the manner in which regulations are applied, like in the case of services being provided from SEZ units and the revenues not being eligible for the tax reliefs provided under the SEZ scheme, technicalities like the unit itself is not the contracting party. Obviously, the unit cannot be, it's only the company which is the contracting party. So, technicalities like that standing in the way. Then cases of transfer pricing, because most of the transactions actually involve multiple countries, India and some other country. So how the transfer pricing would be applied, how the advance rulings would be, and the tax implications would be settled in advance, so that when the contracting is done, these are done with clarity. How the global income on products emanating from work done in India is treated. There have been instances of some extreme interpretations in some of these areas, which were not only unpredictable but which are not conducive to attracting that kind of work into India, because most companies and global companies, both Indian and multinational, look at investment decisions and business decisions globally, and therefore it's important to benchmark our laws and norms as well as how these regulations are applied with international practices. The industry has also suggested that for companies which are operating in multiple geographies, they should be allowed to consolidate their income and offer global income on a taxable basis, as opposed to splitting it up and having to do it country-wise, which definitely increases the complexity of the task, both for the companies as well as for the government.